Welcome to the Prepared School Psych podcast, your resource for student success. I'm Jenny Ponzuric, your host and guide, drawing from over 2 decades of experience as a school psychologist, presenter, and consultant. Join me as we explore practical strategies and insights from educational experts. From evidence-based approaches to real-world challenges, we are here to support you. Whether you're a school psychologist seeking new tools, a teacher in search of effective strategies, or a special education director eager to support your team, this podcast is here to provide you with the resources you need. And as we journey together, I have a special offer just for you, our dedicated listeners. Get exclusive access to a free 2-week trial of the Prepared School Psych community. Experience on-demand resources, mini courses where you can earn CEUs, and access to me and my content specialist through a variety of methods to answer your questions. Head over to jennyponzuric.com/podcast now and use the code podcast at checkout. That's podcast, all caps, for your 2-week trial. Information about this free offer can also be found in the show notes. Come and be a part of our supportive community. We would love to have you. Now, tune in and get prepared. Welcome to the Prepared School Psych podcast.
Welcome back to the Prepared School Psych podcast. I'm your host, Jenny Ponzuric. Today, we are kicking off a 4-part mini-series on this podcast, all about the topic of executive functioning. As listeners of this podcast, you likely have learned a lot about how to support the executive functioning challenges that your students have on your campuses. You likely know how to assess these challenges, how to write goals to address these challenges, and some of you even provide direct support in some of these areas such as emotional control, organization, and other executive functioning skills. However, this mini-series will address other individuals on campus who may have executive functioning challenges. Who are these other people? The grown-ups on the campus. Sometimes we have administrators who struggle to organize all of their paperwork. Sometimes the speech and language pathologist struggles to manage their time to get that report completed before the meeting. Sometimes the education specialist struggles to prioritize tasks between teaching and testing, and by the way, drafting that IEP document. And sometimes school psychologists struggle to maintain their attention, and they're easily distracted by the barrage of emails that come in when they're trying to write that report. My team and I have been spending the last few months brainstorming ways to support the adults on campus who struggle with executive functioning challenges. And today I am joined by someone most of you should know, Dr. Amy Miranda. Welcome, Amy.
Thank you.
Well, why don't you take a moment, introduce yourself in case the listener have not yet had a chance to listen to any of our previous episodes with you.
Of course. So as Jenny mentioned, I am Dr. Amy Miranda. I'm a licensed educational psychologist. So here in California, have my license to practice privately. This is my first year. I'm finishing up. Wow, how exciting to say. I'm finishing up my first year in private practice. And previously, I worked at multiple elementary sites for 6 years as a school psych. So that is kind of my experience here. I am a proud member of the Ponzuric Learning Solutions team. You might see me in the Prepared School Psych community with some mini courses and videos and things along those lines. So I am so happy to be here today.
I'm happy to have you back here. And I know that executive functioning is one of your favorite topics.
Yes.
It is one of mine too. Do you want to share why this topic is one of your top 5 topics in special education?
Of course. So when I think about executive functioning, the first thing that comes to my head is that it is everywhere. It's in all the things we do, right? Even like Jenny and I have arrived to record our podcast today, and I used already so many executive functioning skills just to get here. And you guys don't know this, but it's the morning. So the day really hasn't even started. And I've already used multiple different executive functioning skills. So I love it because it really is everywhere. And when we practice it, we have lots of opportunities to practice it. Also, though, when we struggle with something, we see it often because we're really faced with things that are kind of coming to us each day where oh, that maybe I'm not too good at that part. Or time management, like that's really hard for me. Maybe it's emotional regulation, like you mentioned, Jenny. That's a big one. I know for me, oh gosh, like I'm not good at that one. And when we have these areas of need, they come up often. And so it's important to me that we think about it, we learn about it, we practice things to make it better, not just for ourselves, but of course for our students too. So I love it because it is everywhere and it is to our advantage to work on those things.
I love that. I love that. It is everywhere. Well, Amy and I are here today to talk about what we've been working on over the last couple of months here in Ponzuric Learning Solutions. And we have a name for it finally. It took us a while, but we are going to be calling this the Executive Functioning Academy Educator Edition. And before we get into the details, I want to talk a little bit about why we started this. I know we've talked a little bit already about this, but for many adults, we have all heard the information, for example, on how to organize ourselves more efficiently. We see resources on social media, we watch videos on YouTube, and maybe even signed up for some online class on how to organize yourself more efficiently. And for many of us, it's not a lack of content knowledge. It is actually consistently applying that knowledge each and every day. We start off the school year so organized with a shiny new planner. Maybe we even have a couple of different pens to notate, one color for meetings, another color for me time. But now, as Amy and I are recording this, it is the spring. Organization is thrown out the window for many of us. That planner, you can't even find it, much less that purple and the pink gel pens. They're nowhere to be found. And you were just trying to survive. What do I need to get done today to be ready for tomorrow? But last year, you told yourself you wouldn't do this to yourself again. But yet, here we are again. We know what to do, but we consistently struggle to actually do the actions to get us to where we want to be. And some of you may know that I started an executive functioning focus group back in late 2024. I reached out to those who get my newsletter, and every 2 weeks from December through April, I have been sharing resources to these people in the focus group and getting feedback from them. And honestly, when I put the call out to see who might be interested, I thought maybe like 20 people or so would express interest. And I'm going to say no. We had over 200 people express interest to be in this focus group. We've had so many people who devote their careers, just like everyone listening, to supporting students in this educational setting. And so many of these amazing people struggle themselves with the same exact things our students struggle with, staying consistent with strategies that we know will support us. And the educators in this focus group have shared how these struggles are getting in their way. They're getting in the way at work. They're getting in the way at home. There are these extra obstacles to really being that educator that we all want to be. And Amy, I know you mentioned you've been in special education for a while now. How have you seen executive functioning challenges in the adults on campus impact them?
This is a really great question. And I think that when we think about special education, when we go into this job, we don't realize all that's a part of this, right? That's how it is, I would say, probably for many jobs. I haven't done other jobs, but I would assume, right? You don't know till you're really in it doing the job. And in special education, we really are balancing a couple things, most of us anyway. You're balancing that time with kids. If you're a resource specialist, education specialist, you're doing that direct instruction. SLPs are doing therapy, OTs are doing therapy, right? You have time with kids. And then you have all the other things, writing the reports, updating your progress on goals, making sure parents get those progress reports, drafting the IEP, scheduling when you're going to these, all the other things. And I've noticed in my experience at different sites that people tend to be really good at one of those areas. We either have someone that's phenomenal working with kids, like the best ed specialist you've ever seen, and they're just amazing with kids. But the rest of it, they forget to do it. They write it wrong. They have all these errors. They don't know how to fix it. And that's just how they operate. But it's almost forgiven because that time with kids is so strong and so good. Or you have someone the opposite. They've got their meeting schedule on time. They have the perfect reports. They are an excellent facilitator in a meeting, but they maybe are a little bit weaker in the direct time with kids. And that's really been my biggest kind of chance to see these things in actions, to see where it's getting in the way. Because unfortunately, we have to do both things, right? We have to do the paperwork side, the logistics side, and the time with kids. For a lot of us as school psychs, we like that there's both. I like that, I can leave my office and go do a counseling group or test a student. Or if you're having a bad day, walk into kindergarten, enjoy life again, right? But we have that direct access to kids, but we also can use our brains in ways that maybe work well for us. Maybe we like writing reports and we like doing all that stuff. So you have to do both. But I think that's the biggest place I've seen the hiccups get in the way is someone's maybe good at one area and not so hot at the other.
Well, and as I was talking about too, a lot of us are great at certain points of the school year, right? Like
Oh,
the
yes.
beginning of a school year and we've got everything ready to go. But when life starts getting in the way, we realize that some of these skills are not ingrained into,
Mhm.
I know we talk a lot about certain things being ingrained in the culture of a school, that even if you left that school, those kind of systems are going to still go on in place because it's part of that culture.
Yeah.
And I think about that for ourselves, like, what are those non-negotiables for
Mhm.
yourself that even if it is the most stressful time of the school year, that you're like, oh, I still am going to do this, this, and this, versus all those things that just get pushed to that wayside.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, Amy. I can think of like a whole list of things for myself today that get pushed to the wayside
Oh,
because
yeah.
I needed to get this, this, and this done. And certain things just get prioritized over other things when we've got way too many things on our to-do list.
Oh, totally. And you mentioned it's different at different points in the year. I agree. I also think it's different at different points in your career, right? Like you might come in the beginning and need some support in managing your time. But then as you've practiced and you found things that work for you, that gets better. But maybe there's a cost to that, right? You've put in work in one area. And so then, oh my gosh, I'm now feeling like I'm lagging over here. And I think it's that give and take of all your circumstances, the time of year. How heavy is your caseload this year? Did they just have report cards come out and now you have 16 new requests for assessment in your box at school? It's all kind of circumstantial, but you said something that I think really impacts that, Jenny, and it's what's ingrained. Because
Mhm.
regardless of your circumstances, right, if you really have mastered these skills, you can do them in spring. You can do them with one request for assessment or 16 requests for assessment. You could still do them. So I think it is all about the circumstance, but also about, like you mentioned, like what just is a priority for you and matters to you. Not that the other stuff doesn't, but matters to a point of I'm going to make sure this happens because it maybe matches my values or something closer to me.
Well, you think about this time of the school year too, is the time where some people are interviewing for that first new job, or they're thinking of maybe changing school districts or changing a position. And those responsibilities sometimes differ
Yeah.
district to district, even school site to school site.
Mhm.
And I just reflect, many of you know, if you've been a listener of this podcast, I worked as a school psychologist for 13 years in one particular school district. I was an administrator for about 3.5 years. And so I wasn't in the world of day-to-day IEP types of things. And then after that time, when I started doing more consultation work, I started helping supporting some school districts. In just a couple of years, what were some of the responsibilities of a school psychologist? All of a sudden got transitioned over to case managers. And all of a sudden I was like, wow, there's a lot more responsibility for
Yeah.
case managers today than there was 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And I think about sometimes, I get to work with school psychologists that are new hires to a district, maybe again, coming in from another district, coming in from another state, and they're
Mhm.
just not used to, oh, there's a whole nother set of responsibilities over here. And we have to, again, like we thought we were in the groove. We thought we had all of these tasks. We had our to-do list. We knew exactly what to do. And then all of a sudden we're thrown this curve of there's just new responsibilities added to my list. And rarely does anyone get new responsibilities and someone says, let me take 5 away from you. No, we just get more responsibilities. but things change all the
Yeah.
time in our field. And so we kind of have to figure out like, what are these skills that maybe need some extra tune-ups now? I thought that I had them working and were ingrained, but now I need a tune-up because there's just some differences going on where I'm at today.
I love the phrase tune up because they exist, right? Like the
Mhm.
skills exist, but maybe we need to pay some extra attention to them or try a new strategy to support them. I like that.
Do you support executive functioning challenges for students, but struggle to manage your own? As an educator, you're likely constantly juggling deadlines, meetings, and 1,001 responsibilities. It's no surprise that staying organized and focused on your own tasks feels like a never ending challenge. The Executive Functioning Academy, Educator Edition, is designed to change that. In just 9 sessions, you'll gain practical strategies to manage your time, reduce stress, and create systems that actually work for you. You'll walk away feeling more confident, organized, and prepared so you can focus on what truly matters. Take more control of your day and finally feel on top of your work with strategies that fit your life. Register today at jennyponzuric.com/EF Academy. That's jennyponzuric.com/EF for Executive Functioning Academy. Or simply click the link in the show notes to learn more. I look forward to seeing you there. Now, let's get back to the episode. We wanted to talk a little bit more now that we talked a little bit about the why behind, again, what we're calling the Executive Functioning Academy, Educator Edition. And we specifically put that language at the end to make sure people understood that this is for the educators. Yes, we're going to talk about things that may be helpful for you to bring back for the students you work with, but we're really going to be focusing on the grown-ups here. So, Amy and I are going to share with you a little bit about the details about the what behind this academy. And so I will kick this off with the academy itself is going to have 9 live sessions over a 3-week period. And the live sessions were very purposeful. Amy and I talked a little bit about maybe doing some pre-recorded content versus having some live sessions. And we really landed on the live sessions for a couple of reasons. Number one, I don't know about you, Amy. I have the greatest intentions when I sign up for pre-recording of
Oh, yeah.
something.
Always.
Always. And those are the first things that get dropped off my calendar if I even
Always.
remember to put them on the calendar.
Yeah.
And I think especially for people who we're wanting to work with here who have executive functioning challenges,
Yeah.
sometimes finding that time for pre-recorded content can be difficult to
Yeah.
do that. And it's a lot easier just to show up live.
Totally.
And I think one of the other reasons is just that opportunity to be in it,
Mm.
to be able to get your attention focused on this. And then
Yes.
the moment you have a question, that we're there live to respond to those questions.
Totally.
Instead of thinking of that question while you're listening to that pre-recorded content, and then you're thinking, when do I get to ask this question?
Yeah, exactly. And within the 9 sessions and those 3 weeks, we are going to talk about 12 different executive functioning skills. We're going to really go into depth, talk about what that skill is. We're going to talk about how we might see that come up in our work life, how we might see it come up in our home life. And if you have any background or research on executive functioning, I know there are sometimes lots and lots of different skills that they call out. And Jenny and I are going to really spend time focusing on 12 and really break that down for you. I'm so excited. We're going to have 1 or 2 a day, a session, and really break them down, give lots of examples. I think the examples are really where a lot of the learning gets to be, right? Because we get to really spend time thinking, how might we really see this at work and see that at home? And Jenny just mentioned the opportunity to ask live questions. That would be perfect, right? Oh, hey, I think this is happening to me at work. Do you think that fits into this skill? And having that understanding and going back and forth and being able to discuss. So we're going to cover all those skills, what they are, and how you might see them. I'm excited.
Well, and I know you and I have jointly done some trainings on this topic as well as individually. I think one of the things I'm thinking of, a recent conversation I got to have with some school psychologists where we were talking about executive functioning and just bringing some definitions to the terms. There were some light bulbs that came on in the room of, oh, that's the name of what I'm struggling with and why this is happening in those IEP meetings. And sometimes it can be hard for us to see how things apply to ourselves. It's a lot easier to see how things apply to the kids that we're working with.
Totally.
Well, and one of the things that Amy and I are very passionate about in our trainings is not just giving information, but also creating something tangible for everyone to walk away with. So before I share the name of it, I want to share the why behind. A lot of times when we talk about executive functioning skills, a lot of people will use a variety of different analogies to talk about these skills as well as the part of our brain that's putting all the stuff together. And one of the most often used analogies with executive functioning would be that it's like the air traffic control. So it's that part, we have all these individual skills, but a good executive functioning is not just knowing how to prioritize, it's knowing, wow, it's 4:30. I just got to my to-do list that I thought I was going to get to at 8:30 in the morning. It's 4:30. This is the time to use prioritization. This is the time to look at that list and go, what is it that I need to get done before I leave this school? And so to be able to use those skills at the right time, a lot of times we are going to use an analogy like air traffic control. So we're going to take that and we are going to apply that to what we're going to be creating during this academy. And we are calling it the Executive Functioning Flight Plan. So we want to come up with a plan. And because Amy and I, of course, both have background in special education, it's going to have some things that are going to be familiar to those of you who've ever looked at an IEP because it fits right with what we're talking about. We're going to kick off by looking at our own present level of these 12 different skills. Where are those strengths? Where are those challenges? Based on these strengths, what is the area that we want to focus on the most? Do we need to write goals? Do we need to talk about accommodations? So those of you who have ever laid your eyes on an IEP, the flight plan's going to have some similarities there. Yes, it's going to be specific to what we're talking about, but why wouldn't we bring that in? All of us are so familiar with it. And not only are we familiar with it, we're familiar with the why behind all of those different pieces with an IEP. We know that we don't just walk in and we're like, they have a learning disability, they get resource every day for an hour. Like, we don't make that huge jump. We figure out, where is this kid functioning right now? Or where are we functioning right now? And where do we want to be? What is that goal going to look like in a year from now or 6 months from now? Gosh, what do we need to be doing in the environment to help support us while we're working on this goal? We're going to be talking about all those different pieces, and the IEP is the perfect kind of framework for this because it's built that way for a reason.
Definitely. And I know a lot of this might resonate with you, right? Thinking about, oh man, I really want to have some live sessions. I want to dive into those 12 skills. I want to write my executive functioning flight plan. I love that, by the way, Jenny. You're like, yes, I love it. If that resonates with you and you are just as excited as we are, please keep in mind that registration is going to open in early May. And what we're going to do is we're going to let people join either our summer cohort. So Jenny and I are going to have this EF Academy starting in July is our summer cohort, or our fall cohort. And that's going to start in early September. So you have a couple of options. But registration for both are going to open in early May. So just kind of keep an eye out for that if you are really feeling inspired by this. I know we're excited, so we can't wait to see you there. But that registration opens in early May.
We wanted to get both of these options to everyone. Some of you are looking forward to working on different things about yourself during the summer. That's our downtime. We didn't want to do it right away in June because many of us need that downtime. Some of us are working extended school year. And so for a lot of us in July, we get a deep breath for at least a couple of weeks. And so if that resonates with you and you're like, I want to set myself up for success this school year, I want to get this going in July, we're going to have sessions for 3 weeks, 30 times a week for those. And for those of you who are like, nope, I need July. I need all of July. I need as much of July as I can get. I'm going on vacation. I'm doing this. I'm going to spend the time by the pool. Then we don't want you to think, oh, I can't participate. No, we have a cohort starting in the fall for you. Those are going to be later on in the afternoon because we're all going to be back at work. And so that'll be available. And again, you can make that decision right now around what's the best timing for you as you were thinking about joining this academy.
And very exciting, Jenny. Think about when that person's making that decision, just how many executive functioning skills they're using. I already love, because I'm telling you guys, that's everywhere, right? But I love that there's the options. But just to be clear for our listeners, Jenny, so in early May, they get to pick. They'll have a chance to register for either one. Awesome.
Yeah. Well, and if you're thinking about who is this created for, are you a good fit? So we wanted to talk about who are some different people we are thinking about as we're creating our academy and all of our different content for every single day. So first thing to think about, you have some strengths in some executive functioning skills and you have some challenges in others. I think that's a lot of us, especially when we talk about 12 different executive skills. Many of us can say, wow, I've got some strengths, but I have some challenges. And for yourself, you're just looking for some tips and strategies to move yourself forward. That's just who you are. We're constantly looking for ways to kind of move ourselves a baby step forward. And you're thinking, wow, some tips and strategies would be very useful for those challenges that you have.
Or maybe you're someone who, when you're thinking about, executive functioning strengths, I don't know how many I even have. This is something that's really hard for me. Maybe you're someone that has more challenges with executive functioning and you're really looking solely for that support. You would be a great fit for this academy as well. Keep in mind as we go through each of the 12 skills that we're going to talk about, in those conversations, we're going to talk about strategies for all of them. So perhaps all of those things resonate with you, or many of them, I should say. So again, if you're someone that really looks and thinks about executive functioning and you go, eek, I don't know about any of those things for me, it'd be a great fit for the academy to really work on those things, develop some strategies, and get that executive functioning flight plan going for some of those skills.
All right. Last kind of thing to think about. Are you a right fit? We're doing this for educators. And when I say educators, I mean all of us who support our students. So teachers, general education, special education, school psychs, administrators, speech and language pathologists, OTs, other related service providers. You work in this amazing field of education and you have some challenges that you think are getting in the way. That's who this is for. Hence the term Educator Edition. So we tend to use that word educator as a very broad term as anyone working in this amazing field to help support these students that we are all spending our time doing every single day.
Definitely.
So if this is something that sounds intriguing to you, we have all of the information on the website, jennyponzuric.com/EF for executive functioning, EF Academy. Mm-hmm. And if you are one of the first to sign up, guess what? We're going to have some bonuses for you. All of the details are on the website right now. Head over to jennyponzuric.com/EF Academy. And the link is also in the show notes for today's episode. Amy, I want to say thank you so much for being here on part 1 of our mini series about executive functioning and ways to support you and the other adults on campus who struggle with these skills. Thank you, Amy.
Of course. I love talking about executive functioning and I can't wait to see everyone in the Executive Functioning Academy. It's going to be amazing.
Well, in the next episode of this little mini series, we're going to talk about some of my takeaways from running that executive functioning focus group that I mentioned that I've been running for the past few months. So hope you tune in to episode number 2 in our mini series. Until next time, I hope you have a great rest of your day. Thank you, everyone. Bye.
That concludes another episode of the Prepared School Psych podcast. And I hope today's discussion equipped you not just with knowledge, but also the confidence to take action. Remember, every conversation we have and every resource we share builds a bridge towards a more inclusive and empowering learning landscape for our students. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe to the podcast for more insightful conversations and resources to support your journey. Share this podcast with colleagues. We would love it if you would also rate and review the podcast. Thank you for tuning in. Just a reminder, everyone, the information and advice provided in this podcast are for guidance purposes only, and all listeners are required to follow both federal and state law and their own school district guidelines and policies. Thank you.